The sun was shining gently on a quiet town that was ready for a very special day. People from all around had come together to honor men and women who had served their country in the army. Among them was a man whom many called a true hero. His name was Mr. James Collins. He was a war veteran who had fought bravely in a faraway land many years ago. Even though the war had ended a long time ago, the memories of his courage and sacrifices still live strong in the hearts of the people. James was not a man who talked much about himself. He was humble and quiet, but his eyes showed the story of a man who had seen much in his life. He had saved many lives during the war, and some said he had done things that no ordinary person could do. His family was proud of him, and the whole town admired him. On this special day, James was invited to a ceremony where he would be honored for his service. It was a day full of respect and emotion. At the same time, there was another important person at the ceremony. Michael Harris. Michael was a young guard in the military. His job was to protect and manage ceremonies like this one. He was known for following the rules very strictly. For Michael, protocol was everything. Rules kept things in order and showed respect in the right way. He had trained for many years to learn how to stand, how to salute, and how to behave during such events. Michael was proud to serve his country. He had never met a war hero like James Collins before. Michael was standing tall and serious. He wore his uniform perfectly with every button shining and every badge in place. He was ready to do his duty and make sure the ceremony went smoothly. But deep inside, Michael felt a little nervous. This was his first time being part of such an important event. He watched the crowd gather, the flags waving, and the music playing softly. It was a moment full of meaning. James arrived quietly, surrounded by his family and friends. He smiled gently and nodded at the people who cheered for him. Even though he was tired, he stood proud. He knew that today was not about him alone. It was about all the men and women who had served. The ceremony started with a speech from the mayor who spoke about bravery, sacrifice, and love for the country. The words touched everyone's hearts. Michael listened carefully to the speech. He looked at James and saw the respect in the eyes of the audience. He remembered stories he had heard about soldiers in the war, but now he was seeing one of them. In front of him, the moment was quiet but powerful. People clapped softly and some wiped tears from their eyes. It was clear that James was a man who had earned this honor. The guard. Michael stood by his post, keeping watch over the ceremony. He made sure everything was perfect. Soldiers next to him were serious and focused. The music played again, and the moment came for James to receive his award. It was a small medal, but to James, it meant much more than a piece of metal. It was a symbol of respect and thanks from the whole nation. Michael felt something change inside him as he watched. James walked toward the stage. He remembered his own family. His grandfather had been a soldier too, but he had never been honored in this way. Michael's heart filled with pride and sadness at the same time. He wanted to do something special to show James how much he and the country appreciated him. But Michael also knew there were strict rules to follow. Guards were not allowed to do anything that broke protocol during ceremonies. The tension grew inside Michael. He felt the weight of his duty, but also the warmth of his feelings for the hero standing before him. This was a man who had risked everything for his country. Could Michael find a way to honor him that was more than just following the rules? He looked around and saw the faces of the crowd full of emotion. Everyone was watching closely as James reached the stage. The mayor pinned the medal on his chest. The crowd stood and applauded. James smiled, a little shy but proud. At that moment, Michael made a small but important decision. He decided to show his respect in a way that was not written in any rule book. It was a moment of courage and heart. Michael took a deep breath, stood a little taller, and stepped forward slightly from his position. He gave James a longer salute than usual, a salute full of honor and thanks. It was a simple gesture, but it carried great meaning. The guard's eyes met James's for a brief moment. There was a silent understanding between them. The crowd noticed. A few people gasped softly. No one had expected this. The guard was breaking protocol, but it did not feel wrong. It felt right. Michael's small act was like a spark. It touched the hearts of everyone watching. People began to feel something. Deep inside, gratitude, respect, and a shared pride in their country's heroes. The ceremony had become more than a formal event. It had become a moment of true connection between the past and the present. James nodded his thanks to Michael. For the first time in many years, he felt truly seen and honored, not just by words, but by a simple human gesture. Michael felt proud too. He had done more than follow orders. He had shown his heart. This was only the beginning of a story that would touch many lives and remind everyone that sometimes the most important rules are the ones of kindness and respect. The sun continued to shine on the town, and the ceremony went on, but now it was filled with a new light, a light that came from the courage to honor a hero beyond the rules. The ceremony was in full swing. People stood quietly, some holding small flags, others wiping tears from their eyes. Michael, the young guard, watched closely as James Collins stood on the stage. His hands were steady, but his eyes showed the many memories from his years of service. Every step he took was slow but full of meaning. He was not just receiving a medal, he was receiving the thanks of a whole nation. The mayor's voice was calm and clear as he spoke about James's brave actions during the war. He told the story of a young soldier who had saved his team from danger. James had risked his life many times to protect others. The mayor said that James's courage was a shining example of what it meant to be a true hero. The crowd listened, many moved by the story. Some faces were wet with tears. It was a powerful moment. Michael stood at attention, trying to keep his feelings inside. His duty was to stay alert and follow the ceremony's rules. But as he listened, he felt a growing respect for James. The stories he heard made the war seem real, not just history books. He thought about the hardships James and his friends had faced, the cold nights, the fear, the pain. Michael's heart was full of admiration. Suddenly, James's daughter stepped forward to speak. She told the crowd about her father's kindness and strength at home. She said that even after the war, James worked hard to help others in their community. She spoke about the sacrifices the family had made. The crowd listened silently, feeling the deep love in her words. This was more than a ceremony. It was a family sharing its heart. As James returned to his seat, Michael felt a strong desire to show more respect. The rules said he should stand still, eyes forward, and not move unless told. But Michael thought about the meaning behind the ceremony. It was about honor, respect, and gratitude. Could he find a way to express that without breaking the rules? Too much? The music started again, soft and slow. Soldiers marched in perfect time, and the flags waved gently in the breeze. Michael felt the weight of his uniform and the importance of his role, but inside his mind was full of questions. Was it enough to follow the rules, or did he need to do more to honor James? A moment came when the crowd was asked to stand and applaud. Hands clapped, some slowly, some with tears in their eyes. Michael looked around and saw people from all walks of life, young children, elderly veterans, families, all united in thanks. He felt part of something bigger, a community that cared deeply about its heroes. Then, something unexpected happened. Michael noticed an older veteran in the crowd, sitting quietly with a cane. The man's eyes were filled with tears, and he was barely able to clap. Michael thought about the years that had passed since the war, and how time could be both kind and cruel. The memories stayed with these men and women, and moments like this gave them peace. Michael's thoughts returned to James. He wanted to do something special, a small act that could speak louder than words. He looked at the war hero standing proud on the stage, and his heart told him to honor this man not just as a guard, but as a fellow human being. The guard's training was very clear. Ceremonies must follow strict protocol, no extra movement, no personal gestures, no breaks in the rules. But Michael felt the rules were made for order, not for moments like this. He decided to take a chance as James finished receiving his medal. Michael stepped slightly forward and held his salute longer than usual. His eyes stayed fixed on the war hero with deep respect. The crowd noticed the change. The atmosphere shifted. It was like the air itself was filled with honor and gratitude. Some people gasped softly, others smiled warmly. Tears began to flow from many faces in the audience. The small gesture by the young guard was breaking the barrier between formal ceremony and heartfelt emotion. It reminded everyone that behind every rule and every uniform was a human story. James looked up and met Michael's eyes. There was a moment of silent connection between the two men, one who had fought in war, and one who was now guarding the honor of those who served. James nodded his thanks, a small smile on his face. Michael felt a wave of pride and humility. The moment did not last long, but its impact was strong. Michael's break in protocol became the heart of the ceremony. People began to talk quietly among themselves, sharing what they felt. Many said it was the most respectful thing they had seen in a long time. After the ceremony ended, crowds slowly began to leave, still talking softly about what had happened. Many people came up to Michael to thank him. He said his salute had moved them deeply. Some veterans patted him on the back, calling him a good man. Michael felt a mixture of surprise and happiness. He had done something small, but it mattered. News reporters were there too. They asked Michael why he had broken protocol. Michael explained that sometimes respect means more than following rules exactly. He said he wanted to show the true meaning of honor. The reporter smiled and nodded, sensing the honesty in his words. The story of the guard who broke protocol to honor the war hero spread quickly. Social media posts shared pictures and videos from the ceremony. People from all over the country sent messages of support for Michael and James. The small town where the event took place became known for this special moment of respect. James's family also spoke to the media. They said they were touched by Michael's gesture. For them, it was proof that their father's sacrifices were remembered and appreciated. James himself said it made him feel proud to have served, and proud to see a young man like Michael carrying on the tradition of respect. Michael's commanding officers talked about the event too. Some were strict, reminding him about the importance of protocol, but many others understood that the guard's action was done with a pure heart. He said it was a lesson in humanity and respect, and that sometimes rules can bend for kindness. In the days after the ceremony, Michael received letters and messages from veterans and their families. They shared their own stories of service and sacrifice. Some said that the salute had helped them heal old wounds. Others said it gave them hope for the future. Michael thought often about that day. He remembered the faces in the crowd, the warmth of their smiles, and the tears of gratitude. He felt proud to have been part of something bigger than himself. He knew that the small act of stepping forward and saluting longer had changed many hearts. The war hero. James Collins also kept the memory close, continued to speak about the importance of honor and respect. He said that the guard's salute was a reminder that behind every medal and ceremony, there is a real person who deserves to be seen and appreciated. This moment became a story told again and again, a story about courage. It's not only in war, but in kindness. It showed that respect is not just about rules, but about feeling and connection. The guard and the hero, two men from different generations, had shared a moment that touched many lives. The small town where the ceremony took place felt proud. They remembered the day when a young guard broke protocol to honor a war hero. It was a day when rules met heart and when people came together in tears of respect and gratitude. And so, the story continued, reminding everyone that true honor is shown not just by medals, but by the courage to care and the strength to show it. After the ceremony ended, the crowd slowly began to leave the hall, but the emotions from that day stayed strong. People talked quietly among themselves, sharing how moved they were by the young guard's salute to the war hero. It was more than just a ceremony now. It had become a moment of deep feeling and connection. Many people couldn't stop thinking about what they had witnessed. Some said it was the first time in a long time that they had felt true respect shown so openly and sincerely. The guard's small act of breaking the rules touched hearts in a way that words alone could not. It reminded everyone that behind every uniform and medal was a human being who deserved honor and kindness. Among the crowd was an elderly woman named Mrs. Thompson. She had come to the ceremony with her husband, who had also served in the military. Many years ago, as they watched the guards salute, tears filled her eyes. She told her husband that young man showed more respect than many people I have seen in years. He honored not just the soldier, but the spirit of all who served. Husband nodded quietly, his eyes moist as well. He had seen many ceremonies in his life, but this one felt different. The salute was not just about following rules. It was about feeling and showing gratitude. Mrs. Thompson later told her neighbors and friends about the moment, spreading the story even further. At the same time, in a nearby cafe, a group of veterans gathered to talk about the ceremony. They spoke softly, but with passion. One of them, Mr. Daniels, said, "I've been to many events like this, but that salute felt like a real thank you from the heart. It's rare to see that kind of honor these days." Another veteran, Mr. Lewis, agreed. He said, "It reminded me why we fought to protect a country that respects its heroes. That young guard gave us hope that respect still lives on." God is. Word spread, more and more people shared their feelings. Social media was filled with messages praising the guard and the war hero. Photos and videos of the salute were shared thousands of times. People from cities far away sent messages saying how inspired they were by the simple but powerful gesture. The town where the ceremony took place began to receive visitors who wanted to learn about the story. Local shops sold small flags and pins to honor veterans. Schools talked about the event during lessons on history and respect. It became a symbol of the connection between generations. Meanwhile, Michael, the young guard, found himself at the center of attention. He was surprised by how many people reached out to thank him. At first, he had felt nervous about breaking protocol. He wondered if he had done something wrong. But as he read messages of support and heard stories from veterans, he realized his choice was right, Michael said in interviews. "I only wanted to show respect to a man who risked his life for all of us. The rules are important, but sometimes a small act of kindness means more than following them exactly. I'm proud to have been part of this moment." James Collins, the war hero, also shared his thoughts, said that salute made me feel truly honored. It reminded me that the sacrifices we made were not forgotten. I hope it encourages others to remember the meaning of respect and gratitude. The story even reached military leaders. Some expressed concern about the break-in protocol, but many praised Michael's courage and heart. They said it was a lesson in how human feelings must sometimes guide actions. One officer said, "We train soldiers to follow rules, but we must never forget the importance of respect and humanity." As the days passed, Michael received letters and phone calls from veterans and families. Some shared their own experiences of war and peace. Others thanked him for reminding them of the true meaning of honor. Michael kept every letter close to his heart. One letter came from a soldier who had recently returned from deployment. He wrote, "Your salute gave me strength, reminded me why I serve, and why my family supports me. Thank you for your courage and kindness." Michael also thought about his own family, his grandfather, who had been a soldier but never received. Public honors had always told him stories of bravery and sacrifice. Michael knew that his salute was a way to honor not only James Collins, but all those who had served in silence. In the weeks after the ceremony, the town held a small gathering to celebrate veterans and their families. Michael and James were invited as guests of honor. The event was filled with music, speeches, and laughter. It was a time to heal and connect. At the gathering, Michael spoke to the crowd. He said, "Respect is not just about rules or medals. It is about seeing each other as people and honoring the sacrifices made. I hope we all remember to show kindness and gratitude every day." James nodded and added, "The war was hard, but moments like these make it all worthwhile. I am grateful to live in a country that values its heroes and to meet young people like Michael who carry the torch forward." The crowd cheered, and many wiped tears from their eyes again. It was clear that the story of the Guard's salute had become more than an event. It was now part of the town's spirit and the nation's memory. This story also inspired teachers, students, and community leaders to think about how respect and honor could be taught and shown in everyday life. Many said that following rules was important, but the heart must always be part of it. Michael continued his service as a guard, but he did so with new confidence. He knew that courage was not just on the battlefield, but also in small acts of kindness. He felt proud to represent a new generation that understood the value of both discipline and humanity. James continued to visit schools and community centers to share his story. He talked about bravery, sacrifice, and the importance of respect. He said, "Every soldier has a story, and every story deserves to be heard." The story of the guard who broke protocol to honor a war hero became a lesson for many. It reminded people that rules are made to guide us, but respect and kindness come from the heart. Sometimes a simple gesture can change how people feel and bring them closer together. The town, the veterans, the families, and the young soldiers all carried this story forward. They remembered the day when a young guard's salute touched the hearts of a nation and brought tears of respect and gratitude. And so, the story lived on, not just as a memory of a ceremony, but as a reminder that honor, respect, and kindness are the true heroes of any country. After the ceremony and the heartfelt moments that followed, life slowly began to return to normal for many people in the town. But for Michael, the young guard, and James Collins, the war hero, the story was far from over. Their small act of respect had started a ripple effect that touched many lives. Even beyond their town, news about Michael's salute traveled quickly. Reporters from newspapers and television stations came to interview both Michael and James, the young guard who had been nervous at first, now spoke calmly and honestly about his feelings. He said he wanted to honor not just James, but all soldiers who had given so much for their country. His words were simple, but they carried deep meaning. Many people around the country saw the story as a reminder of the true meaning of respect and honor. Veterans groups wrote letters of thanks, and some local leaders invited Michael and James to speak at other events. They wanted to share the message of kindness and gratitude that had touched so many hearts, but not everyone agreed. With Michael's action, some officials said that rules were made for a reason and should not be broken. They worried that if soldiers started breaking protocol, it could cause confusion and disorder. Michael understood their concerns. He knew that rules were important to keep order and discipline, especially in the military. However, many others said that Michael's salute was a brave act of humanity. They believed that sometimes following the heart was as important as following orders. A few officers even said they wished they had shown such courage in their own time. The story sparked discussions about the balance between discipline and compassion. Michael's commanding officer invited him to a meeting to discuss the salute. Michael was nervous, but honest. He explained why he had done it and how he felt it was the right thing at that moment. His officer listened carefully and said, "You have shown us that respect comes from the heart. We will remember this as a lesson in leadership and kindness." Meanwhile, James Collins found himself welcomed by many communities. He was invited to schools, veteran centers, and public gatherings to share his experiences. James spoke with warmth and humility, telling stories of bravery and friendship during the war. He also talked about the importance of recognizing every soldier's sacrifice. James often mentioned Michael's salute during his talks. He said it gave him hope for the future and reminded him that respect and honor never go out of style. Many young people listened carefully and were inspired by the connection between the two men from different generations. The town itself felt proud of what had happened. Local businesses showed pictures of the ceremony in their windows. The mayor spoke about the importance of honoring heroes with kindness, not just words. Schools included the story and lessons about history and character. The community had found a new way to express gratitude. Families who had lost loved ones in the war also felt comforted by the story. It reminded them that their sacrifices were remembered and appreciated. Some wrote letters to Michael and James, sharing their own memories and thanks. These letters became part of a growing collection that showed the deep impact of the moment. Michael found support in his family and friends as well. They were proud of his courage and heart. His parents said they had never been prouder. His friends spoke about how he had taught them the meaning of respect in a powerful way. Michael felt grateful to have such a strong support system. But beyond the praise and attention, Michael continued to work hard in his role as a guard. He kept his uniform neat and followed his duties carefully. Yet he carried with him the lesson that sometimes small acts of kindness could make a big difference. He believed that respect was not just for ceremonies, but for everyday life. The military also saw the story as a chance to teach new recruits about the human side of service. Training programs began to include discussions about respect, honor, and the importance of empathy. Officers talked about how discipline and kindness could go hand in hand. Michael's salute became an example for others to learn from. James continued to live quietly, but with a renewed sense of purpose. He spent time with his family, helped in community projects, and enjoyed sharing stories with young people. Honor he received, and the salute from Michael reminded him that his life's work was valued. Together, Michael and James sometimes met to talk about their experiences. They shared thoughts on courage, sacrifice, and respect. Their friendship grew, a bridge between past and present, showing how simple actions can connect people deeply. As time passed, the story of the guard who broke protocol to honor a war hero became more than just news. It became a symbol of the power of respect and kindness. People remembered that moment as a time when rules met heart, and when a young soldier showed that sometimes the greatest honor comes from the courage to care. The town held an annual event to remember that day. It was a time for veterans, families, and citizens to come together and celebrate service and humanity. Michael and James were always invited as special guests. The event grew every year, reminding everyone that respect is a gift we give each. Other schools taught children not only about history, but also about how to show kindness and honor in their daily lives. The story inspired many to think about how they could make the world a better place through simple acts of respect. Michael's salute became a lesson for the whole country, showed that even in a world of rules and routines, the human heart must lead. It reminded people that honor is not only earned in battle, but also shown in the way we treat one another. James's life story and Michael's courage became part of the town's history, shared for generations. They showed that heroes come in many forms, from those who fight in wars to those who stand up for what is right in small moments. The story ends with a hopeful message. It says that when we choose kindness and respect, we can create moments that change lives. The guard who broke protocol and the war hero he honored showed the world that true courage is found not just in strength, but in heart. And so, the tale of Michael and James lives on, a shining example of how respect, honor, and humanity can bring people together, heal wounds, and inspire the future. Time passed, and the story of the guard who broke protocol to honor the war hero became something more than just an event that happened once. It became a powerful lesson about respect, kindness, and what it truly means to honor those who serve. People everywhere remembered the moment when Michael, the young guard, chose to show his heart, and James, the war hero, accepted that honor with quiet pride. Michael's life moved forward with a new sense of purpose. Every day when he put on his uniform, he remembered that special salute. He knew that being a guard was not just about following rules, but about carrying the spirit of respect and care for those who had given so much. He continued to do his job with discipline and pride. But now, with the understanding that small acts of kindness could have a great impact, James Collins, too, lived his days with a renewed hope. The salute had reminded him that his sacrifices were never forgotten. It gave him strength to keep sharing his story, teaching younger generations about courage and honor. He often said that respect is not just about medals or ceremonies, but about how we treat each other every day. The town where the ceremony took place grew proud of its role in this important story. The annual events held to remember veterans became more meaningful. People of all ages came together to celebrate not only the heroes of the past, but also the spirit of kindness that Michael's salute had inspired. The power of respect and families shared the story with love as the years passed. Many young soldiers heard about Michael's brave act. It became a part of their training and inspiration. They learned that discipline and kindness are not enemies but friends, and that true honor comes from both strength and heart. Michael's salute was talked about in classrooms, barracks, and homes. The story also reached beyond the military. Community leaders, teachers, and ordinary people saw in it a message for all of life. They understood that following rules is important, but listening to one's heart is sometimes even more so. The idea that respect could be shown in small, meaningful ways spread widely. Michael and James continued their friendship, a bond formed from that unforgettable moment. They met often to share stories, laugh, and remember. Their connection was a bridge between past and present, showing how people from different times can learn from each other and grow together. James's family remained grateful for the honor shown that day. They said it was a gift that brought healing and pride. They often spoke about the importance of remembering all those who serve, not just with ceremonies, but with everyday kindness and attention. The story of the Guard, breaking protocol, became a symbol of hope. It reminded people that respect is alive in the world and that even small acts can make a difference. It showed that courage is not always about great battles, but sometimes about quiet, heartfelt choices. The town's mayor once said in a speech, "This story teaches us that honor is more than just a medal or a rule. It is a way of life, a way of seeing each other with kindness and gratitude." May we all carry this lesson in our hearts. Michael and James both agreed that their story was about more than themselves. It was about the spirit of a nation that values its heroes and the power of respect to bring people together. They hoped their experience would inspire others to choose kindness and courage in their own lives. As the sun set on another year, the town gathered once more for the annual Veterans event. Families, veterans, and citizens of all ages came together in a celebration of service and humanity. Michael stood tall in his uniform, and James, now older but still strong in spirit, smiled warmly. Together, they reminded everyone that honor, respect, and kindness are the true strength of a country. The crowd watched in silence as the flag was raised, feeling the deep meaning behind every moment. Tears were shed, smiles shared, and hearts touched. The story that began with a simple salute had become a powerful reminder of the goodness in people. This story will live on for many generations, teaching that respect is a gift we give each other every day. It shows that rules guide us, but the heart leads us. And it proves that even a small act of kindness can create a legacy of honor and love. So, the guard who broke protocol and the war hero he honored will forever be remembered. Their story is not just about the past, but a shining light for the future. Future where respect and humanity always come first.